Good morning, preschool. And how are we doing today? I hope you're ready for another great and glorious day. So take a big breath in and let it out nice and slowly, putting on that school body. Wiggle, wiggle. Get those wiggles out for just a little bit. There you go. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And another big breath in. And let it out nice and slowly. My ears are open for listening. My eyes are open for looking and learning. Good job. All the way out. And one more big breath in. And let it out nice and slowly, putting on that school body. Oh, my hand is over my heart. What is in there? You're right. I've got love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and faithfulness and self-control. Good job. And who put all that in there? You're right again. Good job. God. God gave us all those wonderful gifts in our heart. And did he mean for them just to sit there in our heart? No, he wants us to share them. And so that means my heart is getting full. It's bubbling out. It's bubbling out all over you. It's bubbling out all over me. It's going up the sides of your walls. It's going all around these beautiful trees that I am. It's everywhere. Which means, God, you are welcome here. And if you're not from God, where do you have to go? Out the door now. You're right. Good job. So, wow. It is another beautiful and glorious day here on God's creation. It is just amazing. So I wanted to say, how about we say good morning? Good morning, God. How are you doing? And we could pray in the way that Jesus taught us to pray. Are you ready? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Now, I don't know about you, but that sure makes me feel like full of joy. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart to stay. What else do I have? I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart to stay. Yay! Woohoo! But you know what? A beautiful, 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 warm and sunny day like today just fills me up so full of joy and love, and it makes me want to do some rejoicing. This is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Yay! good job. Now, this morning, I have a special story for you. It is one that we have talked about before, and we made a really cool craft that was on our wall, and then I sent it home to you and your families to enjoy. But today, since we're studying the letter W this week, I thought it would be a good day to remember the story of Jonah and the whale. All right, so here we have Jonah and the whale. Here we go. Oops. Maybe. God gave a man named Jonah a task. Jonah was to go to the city of Nineveh, one of the most wicked cities in the world. There he was to preach God's word so that the people might be saved from being destroyed. Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh. He ran down to the harbor and he climbed aboard a ship that was traveling as far away from Nineveh as he could find. Then he hid from God deep down in the boat. So here is our friend Jonah. And Jonah is supposed to be going to Nineveh. God has asked him to do that. And when God asks us to do something, should we do it? I'd say yes. That's my feeling. But did he? No. We know he ran away. He went in the exact opposite direction. And then he hid in a boat. Oh, guys, I know that you're super smart, so you already know the answer to this question. Can you hide from God anywhere on the earth? No way. So what was he thinking? I don't know either. Because as soon as the ship was out on the open sea, God sent a huge storm after it. Gigantic waves crashed down on the ship. You see that? Oh my goodness. See if I can see it better. It is not working very well, is it? He's not hiding. He can't hide from God. Now, the sailors who had been at sea their whole lives were very afraid. They had never seen such a fierce storm. If the sea didn't calm down, they would all die a watery death. And while the sailors were panicking on the deck of the ship, Jonah was down in the lowest level, sleeping. He slept so soundly that he had no idea the boat was being pulled apart by the sea. Now, do you see these sailors, these big, brave sailors? And they look scared, don't they? Oh, my goodness. Poor guys. But here is Jonah, the troublemaker, who's not listening to God, asleep in the bottom of the boat. Just sitting there, asleep. Now, all the sailors prayed to their own gods. Do you think that's going to help them? Do you think that's going to work? Nope. The storm raged on. Then the captain went down to find Jonah. He told him about the storm and asked him to pray to your God. He's like, help us, help us, help us. Pray to that God you're always talking about. Can you help us? We're about ready to be pulled apart. They all decided to draw straws to see which one of them was responsible for the terrible storm. Jonah drew the short straw. And he knew the storm was God's way of telling him he could not hide and he should not have run away. There's Jonah. He knew it. He knew it even before he pulled the straws. He knew he was responsible for this storm. God knew he was in the boat. Jonah confessed to the sailors that the storm was his fault for not listening to God. He worried that he might be putting all the other sailors on the ship in danger, and he asked them, "Go ahead, throw me into the sea to save themselves." But the men refused because they were sure that if Jonah went into the crashing water, he would die. They're like, "No way, man, we don't want you to die. Oh my goodness, we don't want to send you into that water." But Jonah knew. They rowed as hard as they could, trying to get the boat back to shore. But it was no use. The storm was too strong. And finally, they had no choice. They asked Jonah's God to forgive them. "Oh, God, we are so sorry. We're sending a man to his death." But they didn't know what God's plan was, did they? A lot of times, things that we have to do or God asks us to do don't seem to make a lot of sense, but they do to God. So they threw Jonah over the side of the boat. The wild storm of the sea stopped right then. They were amazed at God's power and promise to only worship him in the future. So that raging storm, the storm is raging, and the minute that Jonah was overboard, the water was as calm as the water back here. Poof, just like that. Just like that. And that was a miracle to those sailors. They knew it. They knew it was a miracle. So they asked God, or they told God, we are going to worship only you in the future. Only you, because you have showed us that you are the one and only true God. Now God had been waiting for the sailors to throw Jonah overboard. He had instructed a giant whale to swallow Jonah after he came flying over the side of the boat. Jonah was trapped in the belly of the whale for 3 days. 1, 2, 3 days and 3 nights. 1, 2, 3. There it is. He's in the water, and now the whale has come to swallow him. And what do you see him doing here? Do you see it? Praying, you're right. It was dark, and he was surrounded by the smell of fish. He prayed to God from inside the whale. Jonah said he was sorry for trying to run and hide instead of doing as God had said and going to Nineveh. And at the end of 3 days, God told the whale to spit Jonah out on the dry land. The whale was happy to have Jonah out of her belly, as Jonah was to be free. I'm sure she was. It was like, oh, I have a tummy ache because I have this human inside my belly. Oh, yuck. Jonah was thankful to God for sparing his life. He went to Nineveh, and the people were saved from being destroyed. He decided from then on he would do as God asked from the very start. Wouldn't it have been easier if Jonah would have just done what God had asked him from the very beginning instead of trying to run away? And that's the way it is with us too. We always think, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. When all along it would have just been easier for us to do what God asked us to do from the very beginning. I know I don't want to be in the belly of a whale for 3 days and 3 nights, having to pray my way out and ask for forgiveness. I just want to do what I'm supposed to do. Now, we know that we studied, okay, here he is going on to Nineveh. We know that we studied that it might not have been a whale. A whale is something that our brains can understand. We've seen pictures of whales, but it could have been a very specific sea creature that God designed just for this purpose. Because after all, he's God. He can do what he wants to, when he wants to, and however he needs to. So always remember that. We do talk about Jonah and the whale, but we're not really sure till we get to talk to God. Was it a whale? Was it a sea creature that you made just for this time, just for this purpose? It'll be fun to be able to ask those what questions, how questions, when we get to talk to God face to face and in person. But for today, because we are studying the letter W, we're going to talk about Jonah and the whale. Good job, guys. Now, let's talk a little bit more about whales in a little bit.